Hi, everyone. Welcome to the next session on day 2 of the Smart Protein Summit. As we've been saying since the beginning of the day, we're all about building the roadmap for the future of smart protein and particularly charting out what impacts it can have on India's economic future. And we've just had a very in-depth session on biotech from bench to billions. And a lot of the themes that were covered there are actually relevant on this panel, which is more on the plant-based and agricultural side, which we're calling scaling the supply chain, a made in India smart protein transformation. So just to set a tiny bit of context before we defer to our wonderful panelists here, as we said at the beginning of the day, there's a huge opportunity here in India that we've been sizing with Deloitte India and with other groups, where we see the opportunity for just plant-based meat as being a multi-billion-dollar opportunity by the end of the decade, not even counting the other categories. And this mirrors what's happening globally. So as we said at the beginning of the day, if you look at any of the organizations that size the industry globally, JP Morgan, UBS, A.T. Kearney, et cetera, they're all saying Bloomberg, they're all saying plant-based meat and the other categories are multi-billion-dollar, hundreds of billions of dollar opportunities globally. And what we're saying in India is that we have an opportunity here to compete for global supply chains. And that's a major piece of the potential for our growth over the next decade. We have 4 great speakers here. We're going to try and get the fourth one on internet permitting, but we have 3 great speakers with us here already in the room who can speak to this from different angles. So without further ado, I'm just going to quickly introduce them. Firstly, Vishal Vijay of AgroCorp. He manages the mergers and acquisitions for AgroCorp International and its processing arm. He also handles business development operations, new markets, commodity flows, and he recently opened AgroCorp's pea protein plant in Canada that can handle up to 50,000 metric tons of pulses like peas, lentils, chickpeas to produce food ingredients like protein, starch, and fiber. And they've also had an interesting foray into the plant-based food space directly as a brand as well. I'm going to let Vishal talk about all of these things and put him on the spot a little bit for why he hasn't also set up plants in India yet. Vishal, thank you for joining us. You're on mute. I've said you're on mute. Yeah.
No, I'm just trying to find the mute button. No, thanks so much, Varun. A pleasure to be here and really looking forward to this fascinating panel and taking the questions from the audience as well.
Excellent. Yeah, and Vishal is one of the people who's been with us from the beginning since the first Future of Protein Summit in 2019 or the second
always.
Summit.
It's a great thing, that you guys are doing, and very happy to support as much as I can.
Thanks, Vishal. Moving on to our second speaker, Mr. Ajit Tharan of Bühler. Ajit is a senior management professional, over 25 years of experience in capital equipment, minerals, metals industries. He's been with Bühler India for the last 6 years, and in his current role, he heads the consumer foods and human nutrition business. And he's excited about opportunities for growth in plant-based protein. So he works closely with customers, partners, and government agencies to accelerate their adoption in India. So I'm also going to put Ajit on the spot a little bit here about what Bühler is going to do in India. So Ajit, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks. First of all, thanks to Varun and GFI for this wonderful initiative. I think it's great to see all the stakeholders being part of the Protein Summit. Surely this is the most exciting food space. I think the hottest topic in the industry, and I'm really excited to be part of this journey. Thanks, Varun, once again.
That's what we love to hear. Thirdly, I'll just introduce Dr. Dayakar Rao, who has been able to join us. Dr. Rao, can you switch on your video? You're on mute. If you can hear me. Yeah, you could unmute yourself. Yeah, no, I'm glad we were able to get you on. Can you hear me, Dr. Rao?
Yes, I'm able to hear you. Varun.
Okay, excellent. So I'm just introducing you. Thank you so much for joining us. So Dr. Dayakar Rao is at the Indian Institute of Millets Research, which is under the Indian Council of Agricultural Research. He's a very celebrated Indian agricultural economics scientist. He works as principal scientist at IIMR, and he's got a very long list of accolades that I could spend the entire session talking about. And we've had a lot of collaborations over the last several years. So we're going to talk in terms of moving from conversation to action now. Dr. Dayakar has, in a twist, he's been putting me on the spot in the last few months, trying to get us to move forwards into collaboration. So thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Dayakar Rao. And finally, our fourth panelist, Ashish Korde of Proion, also a close collaborator. Ashish has worked across high-tech, pharma, nutrition, several industries in diverse roles. And at Proion, he's producing high-performance plant protein ingredients. They've been the winners of Economic Times Power of Ideas 2018 and a number of other awards. And they just recently raised an interesting large round of funding. So Ashish, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Varun. And it's pleasure to join this event. And in fact, we are a company who's actually leveraging this opportunity, scaling up supply chain from India for the global markets. So it feels great to be part of this event. And yeah, looking forward to connecting and learning and questions from the forum.
Excellent, thanks. And that's what we love to hear and we love to see as well, right? So I just want to ask a first round of questions that sets the context here to dive a little bit deeper about what you're doing. Vishal, I'll go to you first. You're making some major strides in plant-based protein, as I mentioned earlier, both as an agri player and now moving into innovative plant-based egg and dairy products. Could you just lay out the vision here for what you're doing across this entire space and what's making you excited about it?
Sure, thanks, Varun. That's a great question. We started off as being mainly in the commodity trade. So for a long time, our main business was just importing pulses into India and doing distribution. We also did some export out of India as well. However, in the last few years, we decided to really, see, how can we add value towards this growing interest in plant proteins and sustainable food supply chains. So that's where we decided, okay, let's enter the market, and we opened our first facility in Canada to extract protein from legumes such as peas and lentils and chickpeas. So that plant has been running now for about 3 years, doing quite well. You mentioned the amount of product that it can handle. And then, we started selling the protein to food manufacturers, mostly in North America. As a next step, we thought, okay, now that we're actually in food ingredients and we're selling the protein, how can we go for even one step further and deliver, interesting products to consumers that are currently being underserved? And that's where we realized that consumers in India are in the category of being underserved today. Even in things like even in the plant protein products that are available in the market today, it's mostly curated to the Western palate. Right? So therefore, we thought, okay, let's try innovating, let's try conceptualizing food products and we got in without really having any high expectations. It was a 6-month project to see where we go. And then the great thing is we actually, as we hired food scientists, we started to see some of the work they were able to put forth. We got more and more excited. And the first product that they were able to conceptualize was actually a plant-based paneer, which we haven't seen anything similar in the market. And we decided, okay, let's launch it. So we created a brand which is called Herbivore, and we launched the product in Singapore earlier this year. And unfortunately, we'd have loved to get it out in India, sooner. But because of COVID and the restrictions that have been in place, it's been a bit harder. I haven't been able to travel to India in 2 years now. Hopefully, that's going to change soon. But we're really keen to take it to India. In the meantime, we've also conceptualized some other products, but are working on the launch strategy. This includes mozzarella cheese, plant-based egg, and a cream cheese as well. All of which, tastes pretty close to the real thing. And really, the premise of what we're trying to do is to offer, products that are geared to the Asian palate, that are made with minimal ingredients that you and I would recognize off of a label, because I think that's important. You don't want to be eating a chemical experiment, right? You want to be eating something that's wholesome and nutritious. We also are focusing on the protein side. So all the products that we're making have pulses as a core part of it because of the protein content that they provide and because they're allergen free as well. So these, and the last part is to make it affordable. We don't want anyone going plant-based to have to really dig deep into their pocket to be able to afford a lifestyle choice that is good for the planet, right? So we're trying to facilitate that as much as possible by launching products that are low cost as well. So we're still very early days in the nascent step. We're very excited with where it's going so far, and we're keen to and Varun has been very helpful with volunteering the support of the Good Food Institute to help us get into India. And we're hoping to leverage on that and enter the Indian market sometime in 2022 with the suite of products that we have.
Yeah, thanks for setting all of that context, Vishal. It's been exciting and interesting to try the pea protein paneers at various iterations and all of that. So, and I want to come back to that in a bit. Let me move on to Dr. Rao. Can you hear me? You can keep your video off. It's fine, I think, because of the
Yes,
internet issue. Yeah,
I'm able to hear you.
great. So let me ask you the
I'm
question.
able to hear you.
Yeah, great. So I think you're coming in from a very different context, right? You're coming in from the Indian indigenous crops research landscape. And of course, IIMR is a very eminent research institute. Could you tell us a little bit more about the work that you do and the expertise you have, and why it's important to do research and entrepreneurship in indigenous crops like millets?
Thank you, Varun, for this opportunity. I think on a platform like this, talking among the eminent personalities of heterogeneous background. So I just would like to put the perspective from Indian Institute of Millet Research, a premier research institute from ICAR. In fact, we have built a value chain of millets in place and trying to rediscover in a new context of health and wellness. So in order to just build up a nutritional security for this country, just moving away from the food security to the nutritional security. 2023 has already been announced as the International Year of Millets by the United Nations General Assembly. That takes us that India's proposal has been accepted and India has a responsibility to take things forward. Now, when you talk about millets, cereal, this is a cereal thing, protein perhaps compared to legumes, it may not really just find that particular. But among the cereals, I think you have a very good chance because this cereal consumption is not going to be, especially in the Indian context, it's not going to be just ended anywhere in the near future. So taking that point and the abundant supply and the supply chain that which we have, I think it forms a very important thing for us to understand. And in this context, I would like to talk about the quality protein that which is very important. And quality protein should come up as all the essential amino acids presence. And in cereals, we know that the lysine is the very major missing component. Is not exactly missing, but it has a low lysine. But then, in case of pulses, they have a deficiency in methionine. So a perfect combination, a marriage between these two things and bringing a quality protein could be one of the challenge that which can bring with regard to this as a candidate and as a combination could form a very able thing, because when you talk about the international market and what Indian market can offer to the international market is also very important. So, by the way, Indian Institute of Millet Research, we have just begun some sort of a research in this thing, but there is very important thing that which we need to also understand, that how we source proteins fine, but the supply chain of the millets and how we really bring in when we talk about the commercial connotation, because we are dealing with about 200 startups which we are handling them and engaging hand holding them through our technology business incubator, which we branded as NutriHub. I think it's a very important for us to leverage these startups, because we are looking forward for innovations and the heterogeneity that comes with various ideas, and plant proteins could be one important and major thing. So we have initiated this particular thing, and then we are just moving forward. I think we were talking with GFI also, try to build up a center of excellence at the Indian Institute of Millet Research, with an ideal Hyderabad location, which could be the central of the India, and work intensively on these things. So the technology, which there are gaps in the technology that to bring the type of the protein extraction, isolation, and other things which people are working. And I think more and more research has to come out while we are going to take these things and make a viable product for the markets that are going to emerge out. So as IIMR, Indian Institute of Millet Research, we are very keen to be partnering with various the partners that who can add value to this thing, and take, I think, International Year of Millets 2023 about 1 year from now. 1.5 year from now could be a very important thing that we can offer at least a couple of products that comes out of it, can take that, and our startups can also take up those things and take to the export markets.
Yep. Thank you, Dr. Rao. And yes, we do have to
Varun,
follow up on.
over to you.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, we have to follow up on a lot of things together. Let me move over to Ajit of Bueller. Ajit, could you tell us a little bit about Bueller as one of the leading equipment suppliers in this entire space globally, and what you've been doing specifically in the realm of smart protein? Because it's a lot. Bueller has been supporting the space quite expansively.
Yeah, so I think the whole extrusion part of the business we started way back, maybe 15, 20 years back. And I think this is really the most exciting space, like I mentioned earlier. We clearly see a lot of opportunities in this globally. We don't have to go into because I think there's enough data in terms of why this is the most exciting space. It's the opportunities anywhere, talk about anywhere between 200 billion to a $1 trillion business. So that clearly is one thing which excites us. Second is also from a sustainability perspective, because I'm sure you've also come across what Bueller talks about. We clearly taken a very, very ambitious target of 50% reduction in energy waste and water in the customer supply chain. And this is something which we cannot do it independently. So clearly we work along with the suppliers, with our customers, to ensure that we bring about this reduction and then work toward the sustainability target. So this is something which we've taken on from that perspective, from the business perspective, you clearly see this, the extrusion part, the plant-based protein as a very, very exciting journey for us. And one is
Oh, Ajit, I think I.
2 weeks people, one from the regulatory people working with GFI, and second also from the customer perspective, we clearly are seeing a lot of interaction with the customers, a lot of interest from the customers coming in. And how do we work with them? So a couple of things what we have done is in terms of establishing the competence center. So recently, I'm sure you've seen what we've done there. We have inaugurated the center in Singapore, the Protein Innovation Center. That's the 4th one globally. We have one in Switzerland. We have one in US, China, and then the 4th one is in Singapore. So this allows the customers who are a kind of learned about this or heard about this opportunity. They see what's happening globally, and they would like to replicate that somewhere in India. So we trying to work with them, work with the protein innovation centers, and then enable them to try out the specific product made for the Indian palate. So that's enables them to have a feel of the product they want to make, work with the technologists, the building the technology pool in India, help them in the journey. So this is something which we have been doing along, and then we have also made the first step with a couple of entrepreneurs in India who have taken the first step and gone ahead with an actual a plant-based factory. So that's going to come up something which is the next year, and I'm sure there's all happening. I think a lot of things happening globally, a lot of things we see happening in India also, and we're really, really excited on this one.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ajit. And I should also say that Bueller they've become limited partners in Alt Protein venture capital investment funds. They've set up innovation centers all over, as Ajit was saying. They've even recently looked at setting up a pilot manufacturing facility for cultivated meat. So while we're talking about plant-based mostly on this panel here, Bueller has taken very major strides in this area, and really exciting to work on all of this together. Ashish, let me go to you, because you're also doing interesting work. You're emblematic of the promise that India can bring to the space. So I want to hear a little bit further from you on what we should be doing in the space to really make this indigenous crops vision a reality of what we can accomplish in this sector. So where do you see gaps currently in terms of being able to access all the resources you need to truly build out this ecosystem and get indigenous crops into the global landscape?
So thanks Varun for that question. In fact, the entire genesis of our company Proion is based on this hypothesis that there is a huge opportunity out there from ingredient supply chain point of view based out of India becoming the hub or the protein ball for the world. And I'll give you my thought process why we believe in this. But before going there, I just want to give an example from another industry, which is electrical vehicles. And typically what we see is the major key success factor for Tesla was really their batteries, which they were able to produce because they invested in Gigafactory, which is their huge factory where they produce their own lithium-ion batteries. So without these components, it was not possible to produce a mass-scale electric vehicle. And I think something similar also applies to the protein landscape, that the ingredients, which are concentrates, isolates, textured proteins, these are the major critical components for launching successful brands in the market. And we feel that unless we invest in R&D and developing the right components for this market, there will be major barriers for growth. Talking particularly from India point of view, we all know India is the largest producer of pulses, but at the same time, we are the largest consumer or net importer of pulses into India. So from opportunity point of view, actually, if you see superficially, there is no opportunity. We are surplus. We are a net consumer of pulses. So where will this raw material come from? That is the first big question. So just breaking it into multiple parts. So let's take an example, chickpea. We produce globally 70% chickpea production happens in India, which is almost 10 million metric tons. And putting it in comparison with pea protein, so peas, yellow pea going into the protein production are anywhere between 2 to 3 million metric tons. So looking at this landscape, and we certainly believe that if we want to create the next ingredient which compares to pea protein, which could be Indian chickpea, all we need to do is either increase our area under cultivation by say 5 to 10%, improve the crop by 5 to 10% in terms of protein functionality, other things, and per acre productivity if we increase by 5 to 10%. So if we apply these multiple components, we certainly believe that it is 100% possible. However, it's a huge challenge. Not a single company will be able to do it. We'll all have to work it together.
Thanks, Ashish. Actually, it's been a long couple of days for me. So I was remiss in not asking you to explain a little bit further at first about what Proeon does in the first place, right? So could you tell us more about your next generation functional ingredients that you're
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
So in fact, thanks. As in, this question connects very well with what we want to do further. So when we started this company, we were very aware that we are a startup. And there are big companies out there such as, Agrocorp, DuPont, ADMs, with huge presence in this area. So first question was, what are we doing here? And when we spoke to a lot of customers, we really understood that while the demand is increasing, so are the complexity of products which consumers are demanding. So Vishal just talked about, various cheese formats they are coming up with. And these are very, very complex products. And we understood that not single ingredient will be able to meet all these demands in terms of functionality. Because essentially, when you're working with plants, you're leveraging certain strong points of the natural resource. At the same time, you're working with certain limitations. And that cannot be extended across all product categories. So we believe that while soy and pea proteins are still going to be the major sources of proteins, there are good opportunities for newer proteins, such as mung bean, chickpea, amaranth, which we are doing. And this was not only our finding. If we look at Givaudan's Future of Proteins report, or even talk to other ingredient companies, what they are thinking, what could be the next big thing, these are the ingredients everybody is talking about. And also the GFI report on new proteins. So that's where we started from. And then we really zeroed down on the protein functionality side, where we felt as a startup we can make a huge difference. So we invested highly on the R&D and actually worked on the protein functionality, texture, taste in terms of optimizing these components for the target food applications. And we are also not going wide. We have selected 2-3 food applications. For example, our mung bean protein is very well working in baking applications, egg replacement applications. Chickpea protein we are targeting for meat replacement applications, and amaranth for dairy and beverage kind of applications. We are further going down in terms of R&D, working on specific applications, up modulating, down modulating certain characteristics of the proteins. And very soon we are opening our lab, which I would again like to thank you, Varun, because that also collaboration worked out through initial India-Netherlands protein corridor, which was initiated by GFI. So we have very good collaboration with Wageningen University. We are starting our own lab there. And the idea is tap into the R&D ecosystem in these places and develop technologies, bring back those technologies to India and scale them up in terms of manufacturing and supply these value-added ingredients to the industry.
Thank you so much, Ashish. Yeah, that's very exciting, and it's a good vision that ties in with everything we've been talking about for years, right? An indigenous crops initiative that stewards farmer welfare, creates economic growth, creates infrastructure in the country, etc. Vishal, I'd asked Ashish a question at the beginning of that, which was, where do you see the gaps currently in being able to build out this vision in India? Now, you've obviously set up infrastructure in Canada, and we've talked about why you might consider setting up in India or not consider setting up in India. So could you talk about, in terms of how attractive India is as a destination for you to consider it as a sourcing hub or an infrastructure hub?
So, I mean, there's a supply and there's a demand side consideration here, right? Or you could even say constraint, right? The supply side constraint is something that Ashish and his company are addressing, and I think it's a really great initiative and effort that they're doing. Especially to utilize what is produced locally in India to produce protein that can be in turn used by food manufacturers in the country. Today, India is all the plant protein efforts that happen in India, center around soy protein. So India was actually an early pioneer or innovator in the soya protein category. For the last, I think, almost 20 years, you've been able to get soya chunks and nuggets and stuff like that in India, right? But nothing much has really happened in the pulses side. So it's great that Ashish and there are a few other companies, but great that Proion is really stepping up to get at least some low domestic production of plant proteins that are made with pulses going. And as Ashish rightfully said, there are certain applications in which pulse protein, mung bean protein, chickpea protein, pea protein performs better than soy protein for. So it definitely helps to have that angle going. On the demand side, there are today you don't see significant. I mean, you see a lot of some of the large players getting interested in the space. I even looking through the list of people who are attending this session, I see some representatives of some really significant players. So that's a good sign. But today, I don't get the sense that the demand for pea protein, mung bean protein is as large as it is in Europe or North America. But the potential is definitely there. I mean, on a per capita basis, you have the sky's the limit really with India. So I think obviously we are hopeful of demand coming in, and there are a few interesting startups that are also really pioneering in the space to get the demand really flowing, right? In India, there are companies such as Good Dot, as well as Good Milk, for example. The kind of the products that they have, the work that they're doing, it's very, very, very cool. And we've also seen some of the large players also get in the space. Companies like Jubilant, for example, decided to back a startup that was innovating in the plant-based meat sector, which hopefully can tie into what they're doing with Domino's, right? So I think it's growing in the right direction, and it requires two hands to clap, and both supply and demand need to grow in tandem in order to get there.
Yeah, I think that's incredibly well laid out. Thank you so much, Vishal. And that's kind of what we're saying here as well, right? We need to think out to 2030. We can't wait around for the market to take care of things on its own. We're trying to, I think, bring actors together and see what kinds of visionary actions can be taken. And of course, vision involves risk, right? So I want to go to Ajit on the next question here. Ajit, one portion of the value chain here is the upstream portion, the ingredients portion, the protein extraction, all of the things that we've been talking about with Vishal and with Ashish. And of course, Bühler, as you said, excels in extruders, which is a business you've been in since the 1950s globally. Firstly, could you just in a couple of sentences for the audience here, demystify why extrusion is important? And then talk a little bit about how you're seeing markets like India, where there actually is not there's pretty much zero extrusion capacity up until this point, right? So what's your vision for installing infrastructure in that part of the value chain in India? You're on mute, sorry.
Yeah. So in terms of let me look at the extrusion part. So in terms of the extrusion process actually helps to get the product which gets the real feel of the meat. If you look at today on if I put this two in terms of the dry or the low moisture extrusion and the high moisture extrusion products, if you look at two categories, the low moisture extrusion Vishal spoke about, that has been the soya nuggets, the chunk which has been in the market for the last 15-20 years. But the end of it, when you really eat it, though we say it's a meat substitution, but really do you get a feel of it? I don't think we develop the flavor, the texture extra, which can actually supplement or replace the meat. So then we have the high moisture extrusion process, which is something which almost replicates the texture, the feel of the meat-like product. And we're getting there because one of the biggest feedback, if you look at globally, what has been happened, why people are staying away from consuming the plant-based protein. One clearly is in terms of you don't really get the feel of the texture of the meat, and second is the price. Obviously, that's the second thing which comes into play. But these two are the top two reasons why people are staying away or they're not consuming the way we would expect them to consume. So clearly, in terms of the technology, and this is where we also play a clear role in terms of bringing about the improvements in the extrusion process, so that you get the product as close as possible, if not better. The additional benefit which you bring about the extrusion process, also you can do a fortification, you can do the way you want to, and any additions you do, you can also do in the process. So which means you can actually build a product or a meat-like product which is getting a better a protein intake than even the regular one. So I think that's clearly why the reason the extrusion is an important part of the business, and we're really looking at that to drive the whole plant-based protein stuff. So that I would put in that in terms of where we operate from the extrusion side. The challenge we face is, again, when I look at the low moisture extrusion, uh, in terms of investment, what people have been making, there are a couple of large players who are looking at a good capital equipments. A whole lot of people who have installed maybe not all that high quality equipment. They're done with maybe a Chinese extruder or not investing enough. So which again feels that the product quality has not been up to the mark. And this is a challenge when we face when we want to take it to the market. How do we incentivize this players to look at investing maybe on a better equipment, so that really maybe a higher capex, but maybe a lower opex part. So this is something which we have been also working together. On the high moisture extrusion side, clearly, like I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of people who are waiting and watching. But when do they take the plunge? Do we have the supporting infrastructure where people are okay to go and take the plunge? Do we have the infrastructure in terms of investments, or the venture capitalists going and funding them? I think this is some of the challenges we face, because if you look at the interest coming in, that's enormous. I think we just cannot count the number of people who have been talking to us, and I'm sure they're talking to other players in the industry, but a lot of people still waiting to take the plunge. One, they need to have the complete knowledge of the value chain. When I say as an investor, you need to, as an entrepreneur, you need to look at the ingredient handling, the equipment part, the downstream equipment, the cold supply chain, the marketing part, building the brand, getting connected with the global supply chains. I think there are complete elements in this value chain which everyone has to bring in the capability. And I think that's also in terms of how to partner with people, because maybe one or two people cannot themselves bring the whole expertise here. So how do we in fact, Bill has also been doing the coming, trying to get the knowledge level and then bringing the set of people who can provide the whole solutions to them. So this is some of the initiative which we are taking to overall drive the plant-based protein business. Varun?
Yeah, thank you, Ajit. Thank you for sharing all of that. I think you made some fascinating points. I want to underscore one of the points that you made, which is that ultimately a lot of this rests on, and Vishal made this point as well, it rests on consumer demand, right? Consumer demand, but also downstream partners, whatever. Consumer demand is driven by a few things. Naturally, there are these these principles on which consumers now want to consume, right? So planetary health, animal welfare, etc. But ultimately, the uptake of a product, the repeat purchase of a product relies entirely on taste and price, right? So I think that we do need to go from where we are right now, where there's no infrastructure in the market, to going to something where we have installed capacity and we have better infrastructure in the market, better products, etc. So I want to come back to you in a bit, Ajit, on that and how we can move this forward. But to Vishal's point from earlier as well, Vishal made a very interesting point when he said, a lot of the protein extraction work that AgroCorp or he might consider would be close to where that ingredient is being off taken. So if you're installing a protein extraction facility in India, you have to look at the demand side also. Is the local market going to buy that product that's coming out of there, right? However, there is an opportunity for creating differentiated products out of India for the rest of the world. And that's where I think that someone like Dr. Dayakar Rao, his organization, and people like them come into play. Dr. Rao, you mentioned earlier on that we can, in your introduction, you mentioned earlier on, we can create differentiated blends of millets and soy protein or millets and pea protein that are micronutrient complete, highly functional. This is a vision that makes a lot of sense to us as well. Could you talk a little bit further about, have you done any work exploring in this area, or what you would invite others to look at to get into this space and create these next generation differentiated ingredients?
I think what I'm talking must be a little different than rest in terms of bringing the different ingredients to make a candidate crop for plant proteins. And I think I feel that I'm right in taking this because when you look into the market, the options, the ingredient options at various geographical regions makes a lot of sense. Now, this is a time when we thought that we should take it forward because now the innovation is the one which becomes a very central component for us to take it to the market, go to the market strategies, and how we bring in newness to the how we can really make the consumer also convinced about it. Building a USP around it is very important. So we are just working on that simultaneously with the some of the technologies that can bring in both try to integrate things and bringing variety of products, because what we did is through the value chain efforts that which we brought out the range of the products. Now, one important thing I want to put it here is that which perhaps people in this platform may not be aware, but I would like to point it out. See, when we talk about millets, it's not just one crop. It is a group of crops. Now, currently, about 9 millet crops are there. One of the important candidate crop which we are focusing is the proso millet. Proso millet is the one normally which, as per the National Institute of Nutrition, their Indian food composition tables pointed that it contains about the maximum protein of 12%. But we saw the real what you call when you get into the germ plasm and other things, and the new variety that which is going to be developed, which is in the process of development, it has 17% of the protein. So you see the straight away that gains that which we can bring in and try to work out, and trying to bring in the composition, and then as some of the speakers were pointing about the texture, taste, and other things, which we will be working very intensively trying to bring onto the plate the best of the available thing, which the market will not be able to give you and all this. So that's the reason today the context is that it is not the single R&D, whether it is a public or private, but I think public-private partnerships must be promoted in this regard, trying to bring in and trying to see the technology, the end of and they must be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel from the very beginning itself, so that we may come out with the success. And now coming to that basic work that which we have initiated is that Bangalore-based institute, and then Mr. Gurmit Singh and all the. So we would like to really force some partnerships, try to take the lead, try to see that. So for basic process things, you don't need to really just reinvent the wheel. Every institute need not do that. So the literature is there, other countries' experience is there. Then how we really leverage those things, and even with regard to that ready market that is there, because startups are the best source where they can really just take up that particular risk in that, especially the market risks that are involved in it, and they can take it up and take forward. And there is some sort of a grantee nets that are coming up now in today's context. To get into that, this what you say hatke in English, in Hindi. So this millets could be something like hatke, compared to when people are talking about moong being or whatever the pea protein and other things, the soya protein and other things. So if we can bring in that sort of a quality and all those things, consumer is given a wide options within the framework of the protein itself, plant protein itself. I think that could go a long way for us, and brings in a lot of competition and the quality that is which consumer is looking forward.
Thank you, Dr.
Just
Rao. Yeah,
just to add to
Ashish, I have a follow-up question for
okay.
you that leads on from that. But it's a great, so a couple of great points there. So look, India has a bunch of different crops that we can utilize in this space that are differentiated, whether they are millets, and there are very many types of millets. We're doing research with ICRISAT and Dr. Rao and a number of different players to evaluate this opportunity, right, across pearl millet, finger millet, sorghum, proso millet, etc., etc. So we need to conduct a lot of research that demands a lot of work. We need to link with food technology labs and startups, as Dr. Rao mentioned the example of Transdisciplinary University, Dr. Gurmeet Singh's lab in Bangalore. But coming to you, Ashish, look, you've recently raised a round of about $2.4 million, about 18 crores, right? And you're bringing this vision to market, where you're working with indigenous crops and trying to bring something unique. You're conducting research, you're working with academic institutions, you mentioned Wageningen University, CFTRI, etc. But there is this major question of, as a startup, why would you win against any of these larger companies? I mean, you're trying to market some of these ingredients that would be differentiated, right?
Yeah.
But why would you win against the Rockets of the world or anyone internationally?
So first of all, just to set the tone a bit differently, we are not there out there to compete with these big companies. We kind of consider all these big companies as collaborators and something we can learn from each other. And without quoting the name of what company said, because we asked the same question, if we are considering some kind of collaboration, why doesn't it stop you to do the same thing? And the answer was, as a startup, we are very agile. Our decision making is very fast, and risk taking capabilities are very fast. For a larger company, which is hugely invested in one source, one kind of production facility, it's very difficult for them to shift entire focus to a newer thing. Whereas the way we are organized, we are not focusing on creating huge production capacities right now. Whereas we are focused on creating a very good IP around protein functionality, optimization, characterization. And we certainly feel that we need to partner with someone who has huge expertise in supply chain, production, and then jointly we can build this together.
Thank you, Ashish. I think that's a great segue to really my final question here, because we have about 15 minutes left on this panel.
Okay.
It's related to partnerships. Ajit, let me get you first. I was very pleasantly surprised to learn recently that Buhler has a 1,000 person organization in Bangalore, which I did not know, right? But what kinds of partnerships are you looking for? You've done a lot of work. You have a team that's focused on startup engagement. We're working together increasingly. You're doing more and more events. What kind of partnerships are you looking for to accelerate your plans to build out this infrastructure in India and help scale the supply chain here? We're talking about huge economic growth that's possible, but we really need bold actions towards that, right? So what kinds of collaborators, what kinds of partnerships, how can we help you to build this out a little bit better?
Yeah, thanks, Varun. I think that's a very important question which is facing all of us. Just to give a little bit of background, Buhler in India primarily was looking at the grain side of the business. So if you look at the flour milling, rice, pulses, this was the main business where we were focused on earlier, but it's only off late. I would say maybe last maybe 3-4 years where we're really seeing the momentum in the market primarily on the human nutrition side. So we have been looking at this space earlier, but not in the way that we're looking at it today. So that's a clearly shift in terms of approach to the business, complemented by the demand what has been coming. So if you look at globally, I'm sure the thrust is coming from the global markets. We're seeing how Buhler has performed globally. And then we also see that replicated in the Indian market. So clearly from the demand perspective, we see that momentum there. So to take care of this, clearly we are talking, like we said, you spoke about with how we are talking with GFI today. We're also talking to Dr. Gurmeet Singh. We're talking to even some of the potential customers that are also trying to invest in this new facility. We're also trying to see how we can enable them. what form, I think we need to work it around. It's not that we have a one single solution. We need to work the way around to saying what makes sense from an investment perspective, what makes sense from the customer's experience perspective. So we done that. We not done the investment in India from an infrastructure perspective for the plant-based protein. We just had one in Singapore. So now we need to see how can that complement to some extent, and how can we also be replicated in the future in India. So I don't have an answer clearly saying at what stage and when do we get in, but I'm clearly seeing a visibility for the market coming in. One from an infrastructure perspective, but to complement that, also be done is we're also building a technologist team in the country. So we hired the food technologists, a few people. We're getting it together. One who will also enable that as and when the lines gets coming in. We're also going to work with the customers here. One, so take the input of the local knowledge, get a knowledge with the ground reality that we can feed back to our larger global team. So one, we enable the team to perform or develop the product which is going to be suitable for the Indian palate. And that's something which we cannot do. We cannot do sitting in Switzerland or Singapore or elsewhere. So we need to bring the local competence, and that's what we're developing as a stage one, which will be partnering along with the customers. Second, the university we spoke about, that's also be doing a development where we can, because this is a journey where it's not one single player cannot do it. We need partnership. We need partnership across the entire value chain. I spoke about this earlier, right from maybe an agri side of the business, from the ingredient side, from the equipment side, the post extrusion side, the supply chain. So we need to bring the complete expertise here, and it's just not one single person who can play across the piano. So we're taking the few steps here, and then we clearly see that I think it's a journey we're taking about, and we are in for the long run.
Yeah, thank you, Ajit. And that's very well laid out. I mean, we heard yesterday from a lot of entrepreneurs who've been around for very many years. Vishal mentioned Good Milk, Good Dot, etc. You mentioned a plant is coming up, that's Veg Foods. A lot of really visionary work ongoing, but we need to continue building the ecosystem and take really bold actions towards this future. So I'll go back to you, Vishal, next. As you mentioned, you're looking at launching the herbivore range in India, but also when we're talking about scaling a supply chain here, obviously it's going to take time. As you said, demand will take time to build up. Are there any things that you're looking for that will help shortcut that process a little bit, or at least help de-risk you so that you can come into the market with partnerships and build this out in a faster way?
Certainly, I mean, we've done very well with partnerships through our history. Even in Singapore, with taking herbivore to market, we do have distributors and retailers that we partner with. Restaurants as well, are a very key partner for us. And especially, to bring it to a market like India, we need those partnerships to be able to make it succeed. And obviously, GFI is a very important partnership for us. But we're also looking for, partnerships on the manufacturing side. We're already in touch with a few manufacturers we can work through, but always appreciate more linkages on that side. We already have a retail brand in India called Sansar, which we are using for cooking dals. But so we have a few retail partners through there that we can leverage off of to take herbivore into the market. But always looking for more partnerships there. One key area that we're actually looking for to make headways in is actually in cloud kitchens, central kitchens. Some of the large hotel and restaurant chains will be great as well for us to be able to link up with. And also on the startup side, some companies like Proyon, that are producing. Ultimately, we want to be a fully integrated brand in India, right? Whereby herbivore is able to claim that even the protein that it's used in the product comes from the soil of the country, right? So we really do appreciate the work that companies like Proyon are doing, and are keen to test the protein that they're producing as part of our formulations too.
Thank you, Vishal. And I think given your separate interests both on the ingredients and the agri-commodity side, as well as now the brand side, this is emblematic of what the kinds of partnerships we want to see emerging in the ecosystem. So thank you for laying those out. Dr. Rao, I'll go to you next. Could you speak a little bit further to what kinds of partnerships you're looking for to help build out this vision of indigenous crops in Smart Protein? because I don't want to have this conversation every year for the next 10 years. It would be great for us to move into action.
I think see the type of the products that you get is very important. Like the different process products, extrusion could be one such things. But during our journey, try to build a brand around millets. We have developed an expertise in going for various processing technologies through our center of excellence. So as we see that the bigger institutes, perhaps they are now tied up with whether it is CFTR, NIFTM, and others. In millets, we have taken edge over rest of the people and take it forward. Now, when we work on these combination products with millets, with pulses or millets and all those things, we will leverage that particular platform and bring in, because we have the startups with us. We have a very strong stakeholder base that which we have built around this millets. I think trying to sensitize that and also trying to bring in the governments also to that, because the protein is one important thing when we talk about the nutrition security. So try to pitch into those policymakers is a very very vital thing for us to really because I know that this is a future thing as on today in Indian context, but simultaneously doing this with right from the from top level to the building demand for these crops like indigenous crops, what you said, millets, especially farmers are grown, these are grown by the poor farmers in the dryland regions where the that their incomes can be really doubled by this sort of, this could be one such initiative that can really just double their incomes, where prime minister is pitching for that. So we will have to show that what is the potential that is required, and bring in whether it's a policymaker, bringing the farmers and the state governments also. So when they see the value within that particular cultivation, millet cultivation, and try to create some higher share in the producer consumer rupee for these farmers, that tantamounts very much. And these days we talk about FPOs. They're looking for some sort of a new ideas wherein their value can also be increased because of the that collective bargaining capacity that the farmers can bring in. And one important thing is that we can bring in some of this, because the climate resilience is what people are talking about, millets and all those things. I think when we know these many advantages, build an USP around that, bring in various stakeholders and partnerships, and working with like people like I know that I'm get, thanks to GFI, I just get in touch with the Proyon or Buller. We had earlier some sort of a lead in working on trying to build some extruders for millets and all those things. I think before Ajit, so Mr. Kaul was there. So that way, just think, I think we can take these things forward, and year by year, as you said, 10 years from now onwards, I think we can build up because we are also quite very closely working with the industry also, whether it's a Britannia, whether it is ITC, Kellogg's, and all these industries. So we will every point of it. This is a continuous sensitization and the advocacy that I think one has to do that and bring in. Once upon a time, our own experience with the millets and the ingredients that millets are the local ingredients, and the people were not buying. But today, its context is completely reversed. We see that people are talking about it. People want to embrace it. It has become a fashion statement. I think it's the time that determines through our consistent sensitization to the people. Till then, I think we need to be persevering and moving forward. What we start, we should not end up till we achieve what we are trying to do. So.
Definitely on the same page, Dr. Rao. And I actually think that 10 years is not that long. For example, I've been having conversations about installing extrusion capacity in the ground in India for 3.5 years before the first company that decided to take a foray in that area and take that risk. So speaking of risk, Ashish, just as a final word here, what kinds of partnerships are you at Proyon looking to continue to establish as we try to build out this vision? Because you're going to be demonstrating the potential of a lot of this before we can actually scale the supply chain.
Yeah. So first, very important for us, Varun, is the industry academia partnership. So we have partnered with CFTRI very successfully. We are doing the same thing in Netherlands. What we would also like to have some kind of partnership with governments between Netherlands and outside India and in India, mainly for technology transfer and other kind of things, where we feel that such kind of partnerships or research projects can really help. And just to give you example, one of the things we were trying to participate was Better Legumes project. We did not participate because the PPP project there did not include any of the pulses or crops from India, whereas we are mainly focused on Indian crops. So one thing, for certain, we need more and more collaboration with government as well as such institutes.
Thank you so much, Ashish. And of course, we agree. We'd love to work with anyone in the audience who's interested in helping us scale the plant-based supply chain. The potential benefits are massive, both in terms of economic development, value realization and welfare of farmers, entrepreneurship, great next generation, great tasting products, foods like plant-based meat, eggs, and dairy that have within them the goodness of Indian indigenous ingredients and crops like millets, pulses, hemp, pongamia. Really, it's a fantastic tapestry of things that we can utilize in this space. I want
Just
to thank.
one addition, sorry.
Go ahead.
Varun. I would also like to propose something where, GFI, forum like GFI can bring together companies like us, and we can do something collaboratively. Maybe with institutes such as IMR, rather than this one-on-one collaboration, if we can form a group and work on some common objectives.
100%. There's a lot to do. So we've had these
think
industry forum
I just,
roundtables. We're actually, sorry, Doctor, we're actually running out of time. I have to close here. But we are on the same page. We want to bring people together.
just
multiple
one point.
people.
Just
Sorry,
just
Dr.
one
We
point
have
I
to,
want to make.
we have to cut. I'm going to have to cut you off. I'm so sorry because we're going into the next session. I want to thank Dr. Rao,
Okay.
Ajit, Ashish, and Vishal for joining us here
Okay,
today.
thanks a lot.
Take
Thank
care,
you. Thank
everyone.
you, Al. Thank you all
Thank
for
you.
the participant and people in the session. Thank you once again.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Varun,